Brilliant. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm here to give you a big update for Electroneum, which is an exciting thing. I've got some details of a tech update, and there's a lot of people who've been waiting to hear details of our blockchain update and what we're going to do about some of the things that have been happening. So I hope it's something that's got a little bit of something for everybody. We've got some of the more technical details at the end and a bit of a synopsis at the beginning. So synopsis is we've got a date now for the blockchain update for Electroneum. So on block 307,500, which is about May the 30th, probably around 10:30 AM BST, we are going to have a fork. Don't panic about the word fork, I'll explain that in a moment. It's basically an update to all of our node software. It's an update to our blockchain, which is going to make some significant enhancements. It's going to solve all of our problems and take us in a direction that is where we want to go. So if I explain some of that, so first of all, don't panic about the word fork. Monero, who we forked from originally, Monero fork every 6 months. It's an update that's a planned update, and whilst it's a fork, it's not a fork like Bitcoin's fork into Bitcoin Cash, where you become two currencies. We stay exactly as we are. We make all of the exchanges, get the update in advance, we give the update to the pools, and everybody who's running a node does an update, and we carry on, the Electroneum project carries on, so it doesn't diverge into two coins. Now there's some interesting things in this update. This was a planned update that we were going to do anyway, along with some of the things that the community have asked for, as well as the fact that ASICs have come out since we launched back in December of last year. So the ASIC update, everybody will be pleased to hear that we're including anti-ASIC in the blockchain update. So anti-ASIC will go live on the 30th of May, and that will prevent ASIC miners from dominating the mining of Electroneum. Now, for those of you who don't really understand why we want to do that, we are preventing ASICs from going from mining in bulk, because it basically gives a risk to our blockchain of something called a 51% attack. Now, there was rumours in the marketplace that a 51% attack had already taken place, and that is not the case. The things that were being cited as evidence that was underway or had happened were nothing to do with the 51% attack. So we haven't had that, but what we did have is we did have some blockchain flooding, which I'll come on to in a moment. But so we were implementing this ASIC or anti-ASIC code, because that will stop in the future the ability of one big ASIC mining farm somewhere in the world coming along and taking 51% of the mining, which then gives them the ability to do some nasty things to the network. But just rest assured that that has not happened to Electroneum, and we're putting into place the anti-ASIC code to stop it happening in the future. And just as a matter of interest, there are some ASICs available at the moment, but they are the lower powered ones, the ones you saw in our office if you've been following. The really powerful ones that are 10 times more powerful than them, there's not another batch of those due until June. So getting the update out in May is critical for us, but there's nothing to worry about with regards to ASICs. So we've got a few things that we're doing. I've got them written down there below the camera, because there's quite a few things in the list. So I'll have a quick look through. Oh, by the way, the reason we've chosen that date is it was kind of on our roadmap anyway to do an update, and it gives us plenty of time for the community to look at our code as well. So remember, we're open source on this. So next week, by the end of Friday, I think that's maybe the 5th of May, we plan to get our entire software update out onto GitHub, so the community can start looking at it, and if there's anything they want to add, if there's any comments that they want to make, they have the ability and plenty of time to get in to talk about what the updates are, and if there's anything that they want to add, they can add it. So it's really important that we have this time for that reason, and another reason is it's really important that we get everybody to update their software. Every exchange needs to update their node software. Well, everybody who runs a node has to update their software. So all pools, all exchanges will all need to update. So we need a little bit of notice. We can't do this super fast. We've got to give people some notice so that we get it right and we do everything exactly by the book. All planned, and it'll all go perfectly if we do it that way. So, got a few things that are worth mentioning. Anti-ASIC already mentioned. We're going to do a transfer fee increase. Now, it's not a very large one, but people were calling, some of the more technical people in the community were calling for a huge fee increase, which goes against what we're trying to achieve here, because we're really into micropayments and massive adoption, and by having huge fees, that would be a problem for us. But what we've done is we've taken our fee to 0.1 ETN for a transfer. Now, we've done that because partly for blockchain flooding reasons. There's a couple of other reasons as well, but it is possible that malicious people can just keep making tiny transfers, thousands, tens of thousands of them, and they're doing it just to be irritating. In fact, some of the people that were perpetrators of this thing have gone on to strike up their own ICOs and do their own thing, so you can draw your own conclusions as to why they would be doing it. But some of these events are all to do with keeping the blockchain flowing nicely. So we've got a small transfer fee increase. Bear in mind, if you actually work out what that is in US dollar cents, it's still peanuts for a transfer. So we've got a fee increase to 0.1. Now we've also got an increase in the block size, our default block size, before a penalty is incurred by miners. Now, you don't really need to understand the full technicality of that unless you are technical, but effectively what it means is we can cram in more transactions into our default block size before the miners are getting any penalty for making the block size bigger. So this means that we can react faster to large hits onto our blockchain. Now what was interesting is, during that flooding that we had, which did happen, the blockchain that we've got currently didn't cope very well, and we learned a lot from that. So whilst it was a very irritating thing for a lot of people, and it's a shame that it happened, we have made the best of it in absolutely the best way we possibly can, which is we have learned an awful lot from it. We've got a lot of data points, and we have moved forwards with the tech to make sure that we can cope with those huge volumes that we're going to experience in the future anyway in transactional volume. So part of that is this increase in block size. Now, because we're increasing in block size, there's a few other things that we're going to do to fit even more transactions in, and this is where the update becomes very interesting, and this is the part of the update that was going to take place anyway, whether or not the ASIC thing was going on. Now what we're doing is we're diverging away from some of Monero's privacy points. So we're still going to be a private blockchain, so we use stealth addresses still for every single transaction. So your main, unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum, where by looking at your wallet address you can actually see what the contents of that wallet is, we're not going to have that. We're still going to have stealth addresses on every single transaction, but what we are getting rid of is something called ring CT and mixing. We're taking those out altogether. Now, they're technical things, you can look them up and have a little Google, but effectively what they do is they mix up your transaction amongst other transactions on the blockchain for privacy reasons. Now, from our point of view, what we're after is huge numbers of transactions, so we want to get the transaction size as small as we can so we can squeeze as many transactions as we can into a block. So that leanness is important to us, and it's that reason that we're moving away from those things. So if you're after a super high secure, real privacy, real focus on privacy coin, Monero, which is what we thought from originally, is still the best route to go. But what we've done is we're leaning down our blockchain so we can get far more transactions into a block, and that's to enable us to have much higher speed and much larger volumes of transactions. Now, part of that as well, in terms of flooding and transaction speeds, we're going to increase the life in our mempool from 24 hours to 3 days. That's because during that flooding, there were a few people who got affected by the fact that if their transaction was delayed by over 24 hours, then it got returned to them, but they probably didn't see it get returned to them until 7 days. So it was an inconvenience for a lot of people. So what we're doing is among all these other things that we're doing to prevent and reduce or mitigate flooding, we're also increasing the mempool size to 3 days, and that will enable far less chance of a transaction being lost or stuck or returned. It'll never be lost, sorry, but when I say lost I mean for a few days and then returned. So mempool life, 2-minute blocks. So at the moment our blocks are emitted every minute. Now what that's meant is one or two blocks have been seen, or a number of blocks have been seen as being called orphan blocks. This is where one group of miners have created a block, but another one has already been partially confirmed, or another block has already been made. So this block ends up as an orphan block, and the transactions that are in it get returned. Now that's, again, an irritating thing for the users of the blockchain. Nobody wants to see that, and a major way of fixing that amongst all these other changes is the fact that we're going to 2-minute blocks. And that then has a ripple effect on some of the other things. So for instance, block reward, this is the fee that miners get, the reward that miners get for mining a block. We're doubling the block reward because we're halving the block time. So we're going to 2-minute blocks, so we're doubling the block reward. That has another little bit of a trickle onto something else, which is the difficulty window. Hi there, small technical difficulty halfway through. Reduced difficulty window is what I was on to. We're not going to reduce the difficulty itself. The difficulty is going to remain largely the same across the entire network, but we're changing the window with which our blockchain calculates the difficulty to prevent large rented hashing power from being applied to our blockchain and used in a very short term. They scoop up all the blocks whilst they're running, because from their perspective, that if they've doubled our hashing power or some huge number of huge powerful hashing, they will get the difficulty looks easy to them. So they come in, they take all the good blocks, and then they disappear to someone else's blockchain. Meanwhile, they've pushed the difficulty right up for everybody else. So to reduce that, we've reduced something called the difficulty window. That means that we analyse less blocks to find out what the difficulty is set to. So effectively what it means is that we're solving another problem that has appeared to us on the blockchain. So that's all being fixed as well. So effectively what I'm saying is that everything is going to plan. All of the deals and things that we've been talking about are all still ongoing. These things don't happen overnight. There is, to my knowledge, that everybody's still on track. So everything is still moving exactly as we want it to. I'm very positive about the future. Super positive. Probably more positive than ever. And I'm a pretty positive kind of guy. So I think we are in a very good position to move forwards. As soon as this update goes out next week, I'll put another post up, and all these details, the tech details and the reasons, will all be on a blog post on our website. So if you go to our website, click on blog, you'll see probably this video as well, but you'll see all of the technical reasons for us doing things on there. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.